Now at 4:30, a look at the immigration data from President Trump's first week in office. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says that they've made over 4,500 arrests and have lodged over 3,500 detainers against undocumented immigrants. Trump's border czar Tom Homan says they're prioritizing criminals first. He also said anyone who entered the U.S. without authorization could be deported. A lot has happened over the past week, of course. Sanctuary spaces are no longer safe from arrests. Schools and churches are also fair game, according to the White House. Oklahoma actually proposed a rule requiring parents to show proof of their child's U.S. citizenship or legal immigration status. Several sanctuary cities are now the subject of an investigation by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. The Trump administration is being sued over its push to get rid of birthright citizenship. So with so many layers here, we asked Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux to come join us today and help break some of this down with immigration. So Sheriff, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me back on.
Of course. Now, have you been contacted by the White House at this point in the first week about arresting undocumented immigrants?
No, and we don't have the authority to arrest, and that might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but there's two different Supreme Court rulings. One of them is at the federal level, one of them is at the state level. Arizona versus United States, 2012, explicitly prohibits states from engaging in federal immigration, and Lunn, L-U-N-N, versus Commonwealth in Massachusetts, that's 2017, that also prohibits us from doing that. But that's not to say we're not going to cooperate with ICE and give them information when they need it. We're absolutely going to do that.
And by cooperating with ICE, giving them information, what does that entail?
So if we have inmates in our custody who ICE wants to know like what the names are, or if they give us a list of people and say, do you have any of these people, we're going to cooperate. We're going to tell them that. And if they want to place an ICE detainer on somebody, they may do that. And we're going to hold somebody on a state sentence or awaiting trial for state charges, and that's what we do. We're in the business of that. But we're not allowed, per the Lunn decision, Lunn, Commonwealth, Massachusetts, 2017, we're not allowed to hold them past when the state sentence is expired.
Okay, so the furthest you can go is really just cooperating with ICE and holding them for criminal activity. For
the state sentence, and that's what we're allowed to do. But we're not allowed to hold them solely on the basis of an immigration violation. But we will cooperate with ICE. We'll give them any information they ask for, and we're not going to get in the way of doing their job. They have an important job to do, and I can appreciate that.
Now, we've been seeing countless videos of raids out of Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, even closer to home in Boston. We have video actually from last week of agents entering homes in East Boston. You can see it right there. Do you know, can you confirm whether there have been any raids in our area? And, you know, how do you differentiate a raid from ICE going to arrest an undocumented immigrant who committed a crime?
Yeah, I don't know of any raids that have gone on in any of the 20 cities and towns in Bristol County. We haven't been approached by ICE. ICE hasn't asked us for any information outside of the normal business that we do with ICE, which is on a routine basis. They'll ask us, do you have so-and-so in your custody? And right now, out of the 670 inmates that we have, about 10 of them have ICE detainers, but they're all being held on a state sentence or they're awaiting trial for a state issue.
Now, your prison used to have an ICE detention facility. Are there any plans to bring that back?
No, we lost the 287G contract under my predecessor when he was sheriff, and so that happened before I got there. But the ICE facility that used to hold ICE detainees, that's been retrofitted into a training academy. We wouldn't be allowed to hold ICE detainees solely on the basis of immigration violation. So that was an unused vacant building when I got there. And so we turned that into a proper training academy because we were renting space across the street, and it was just a better use of that space.
So if an undocumented immigrant is arrested by ICE simply for being undocumented, you guys can't hold them, so would they be held somewhere else?
They would probably have to go to Plymouth County. Plymouth County has a 287G contract. They didn't lose that, but yeah, we wouldn't be allowed to hold somebody solely on the basis of immigration violation, but Plymouth County is allowed to. There are 13 jail systems in Massachusetts, and Plymouth County is the only one that has the 287G contract, and I believe they have a couple hundred inmates there, but I would say talk to the sheriff of Plymouth County for that.
Okay, so you could only hold them if they committed a crime.
That's right, a state crime, and you know, as might people might not be aware of this, but the coming here illegally, or being an immigration violator, that's actually a civil. It's a civil offense. It's not actually like a felony, as some people might think. And so it's something that the federal government reserves their right to address. We're not allowed to do that. And I know people see the badge, they see law enforcement, they say get out there and arrest them. But I like to point out the FBI can't give people speeding tickets because that's not their jurisdiction. We're not allowed to do federal law enforcement unless there's a 287G contract, but that's something my jail lost before I got there under my predecessor.
Right, so like you said, that's something that's available in Plymouth, but not in Bristol County. Now, Governor Healy said yesterday that she supports the deportations of criminals, so of undocumented immigrants who have come here and committed crimes. Do you agree? I do, and I would like to take that a step further, though, because if you start deporting people before they've been convicted of something, and this is something I was talking with the DA Quinn, DA of Bristol County, about, Tom Quinn, he's concerned that deportations are going to happen before they're able to actually bring somebody to trial and get a conviction. So we do have some people who are here illegally that have engaged in child rapes and some pretty horrible crimes. At my jail, we only have 10 ICE detainers, but I know DA Quinn wants to get a prosecution out of them before they are deported, and I can see why. He wants to make sure that justice is served. Would there be any benefit in that in regards to if they came back, if they tried coming back to the U.S.?
I think if they're coming here, they're probably coming here illegally, and the means in which they do that, and I'm not really sure if that would keep them from coming back, but it would certainly be good for the victims' families to know that justice was served and that there was a conviction that was achieved. Instead
of they were sent back, we don't know what happened to them.
Exactly, yeah. And so if somebody is sent back after they've been here illegally or undocumented, and then when they come back, they're not coming through the airports, they're not coming through the regular means of transportation, the lawful transport, they're coming over the border other ways. But that's something I don't know if a conviction would dissuade them from or impede them from coming back in. Right, so you're saying let's keep them here for the trial, get a conviction so the family can get justice, then send them back. Then send them back, or allow them to serve their sentence, so that way justice is, or I'm kind of agnostic on that, because on the one hand, it's interesting because then that's taxpayer money that's being used to keep somebody undocumented who committed a crime here. Yeah, exactly. So you could look at it either way. You can say, well, the person serving their sentence, they committed a crime, like not a civil violation of coming over, but they've committed a state crime, child rape, murder, assault, whatever it might be. So you want to get that conviction, but then do we want to hold them? Because on the one hand, justice is being served, we're holding them. On the other hand, we're spending money, about $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Exactly. So that's the average cost, but there's a difference between fixed and variable. But still, it's money we're spending, and you could look at it either way. Yeah, definitely a very interesting topic of discussion. Well, Sheriff, thank you for being here today to talk to us about immigration with all the changes. We really appreciate it. Thanks for having me back on. And our coverage of Trump's immigration policies and the impact it has in our communities continues tonight at 5 o'clock. In the meantime, you can find more coverage on our website. That's turnto10.com.